messenger came from the mountain of death, with Saul's heavy crown and a shallow breath. He thought he'd be rewarded for the king he had slain, but David brought justice and wept for the pain.
How the mighty have fallen, the young shepherd cried, for Jonathan's love and the king's broken pride. He cursed the high hills where the dew would not fall, and mourned for the heroes who gave up their all.
To Hebron he went, as the Lord gave the word, where the tribe of Judah's great promise was heard. They anointed him king, while the northern tribes stood, with Ishbosheth's house in the shadow of wood.
Abner and Joab, two captains of might, brought a long bloody war in the dead of the night. But David grew stronger as the seasons rolled by, while the house of old Saul saw its influence die.
When the smoke finally cleared and the rivals were gone, all Israel gathered at the break of the dawn. They made him their king over every last tribe, with the covenant heart that no silver could bribe. He marched to the fortress, the Zion of old, where the Jebusites mocked with a story untold. But David climbed up through the water and stone, and made the city of David his throne. He wanted the ark, so he gathered the men to bring back the glory to Israel again. But Uzzah reached out when the oxen did stray, and the joy of the music turned fearful that day. 3 months in the house of Obed-Edom it stayed, till David returned, no longer afraid. He danced in a linen ephod, leaping with might, while Michal looked down with a heart full of spite. He sat in his palace of cedar so fine, and said, Lord, I dwell here while you have no shrine. But Nathan the prophet brought a word from above, your house is eternal, sustained by my love. I will build you a house, said the Lord to the king, a kingdom of peace that the ages will bring. Your son shall build temples of stone and of gold, but your throne is a promise that will never grow old. David remembered the vow that he made to Jonathan's house in the deep forest shade. He found Mephibosheth, crippled and low, and gave him a seat where the king's table would glow. But shadows were creeping one evening in spring, when kings go to war but stayed home was the king. He saw from the rooftop a woman so fair, and Bathsheba's beauty became his own snare. He sent for Uriah, the brave and the true, to cover the sin that the king already knew. When the soldier refused to go home to his wife, David wrote out the order that ended his life. Nathan stood tall with the tail of a sheep, of a rich man who took what the poor man would keep. You are the man, fell like thunder and rain, and David collapsed in the weight of his shame. The child was taken, the palace was torn, the consequences rose with the light of the morn. The sword shall not depart from your house, said the seer, and the peace of the kingdom gave way unto fear. Amnon was wicked and Absalom was cold, a story of vengeance Absalom sat at the gate of the town, stealing the hearts that belonged to the crown. He blew on the trumpet and rose in his pride, and David fled weeping to the wilderness side. He returned to the city, but trouble remained, with Sheba's rebellion and spirits all strained. But David had mighty men, heroes of fame, who fought through the giants to honor his name. A famine came down for 3 years on the land, because of the blood on Saul's house-beating hand. The Gibeonites sought for a debt to be paid before the dark clouds of the hunger would fade. David sang songs of the rock and the tower, of the God who delivered him out of the power of lions and bears and the shadow of Saul, the lamp of the darkness who hears when we call. He numbered the people, a sin of the mind, forgetting the strength that the Lord had designed. The pestilence came like a wind through the gate, until David pleaded to soften the fate. He stood at the threshing floor, Araunah's own ground, where the angel of judgment was finally bound. He bought it with silver, the altar